It happened in an instant. At 3 a.m. Eastern, the world stopped humming. Every light bulb in America went dark, every screen went black. In New York, subway trains screeched to a halt, plunging thousands into blackness. Elevators froze in Chicago skyscrapers. LA's freeways became chaos as traffic lights died. The initial reaction wasn't panic, but confusion. People waited for the lights to flicker back on. They didn't. Cell phones had no signal. The digital umbilical cord was cut. Planes in the air flew blind, relying on old-school navigation, hoping someone was still guiding them. The silence was the most terrifying part, a sound no one had ever truly heard. In that first hour, the scale of the problem was unknown. Teslas stalled, TVs went blank, office workers stared out at frozen cities. The digital world evaporated. No news alerts, no social media, no way to call a loved one. Emergency calls flooded 911 centers, but backup power and overwhelmed lines meant help was slow. Reports of people trapped, car accidents, and medical emergencies poured in. The infrastructure we take for granted had crumbled in a single moment. The country held its breath, waiting for the hum to return. It didn't. The silence deepened, and dread set in. This was no ordinary blackout, this was something else entirely. The first hour of darkness had begun. As the hours ticked by, confusion turned to fear. The power wasn't coming back. In cities, people abandoned offices and cars, flooding the streets on foot, desperate to get home. Bridges became rivers of anxious faces. With no information, rumors spread. Solar flare, cyberattack, war. Banks locked their doors. ATMs and credit cards were useless. Cash was king, but few had it. The digital economy had become a cage. People realized their security was tied to a grid they never thought about. Stores closed, some boarding up windows. The lucky few with cash bought what little was left. Gas stations were silent. Roads were gridlocked with abandoned cars. The nation was paralyzed, not just by the blackout, but by the collapse of every system that depended on it. The social fabric began to fray. Arguments broke out in lines for water. Civility was stripped away. Emergency services were overwhelmed, now dealing with rising disorder. Police tried to direct traffic manually, but it was futile. The country fragmented into isolated, anxious communities. The day was only just beginning. The blackout was no longer just an inconvenience, it was a crisis. People realized how quickly order could unravel. Darkness was spreading hour by hour. By midday, the fragility of modern life was exposed. Food became a challenge. Refrigerated trucks stranded, supermarket freezers thawing. Some stores gave food away, others locked up, fueling chaos. Water systems failed. Taps ran dry. Bottled water became precious. Sanitation collapsed. Toilets wouldn't flush. The threat of disease loomed. With no news, wild rumors spread. The grid was destroyed, cities under attack, government collapsed. Paranoia and distrust grew. Neighbors eyed each other warily. Crime crept in. First out of desperation, then opportunism. With security systems dead, homes and businesses were vulnerable. Police were overwhelmed, unable to respond everywhere. For many, self-defense became the only option. The social contract was breaking down, hour by hour. The blackout was no longer just a technical failure, it was a test of survival. People realized how quickly society could unravel. The darkness was now a threat in itself. Every hour without power made the world more dangerous. The sense of shared crisis faded, replaced by fear for personal survival. The day wore on, and hope faded with the light. Nowhere was the crisis more acute than in hospitals. Backup generators kept life support machines running, but they weren't built for a marathon. As hours passed, fuel dwindled. Administrators made frantic, futile calls for more. Nurses manually ventilated patients. Doctors faced impossible choices. Who gets the last battery power? The psychological toll was immense. Every minute, the risk grew. Then the inevitable. A generator failed. Lights went out. Monitors fell silent. Staff scrambled in darkness using flashlights and dying phones. Despite heroic efforts, lives were lost. Across the country, similar tragedies unfolded, hidden from a world in chaos. Hospitals, once islands of order, were now battlegrounds against the dark. As dusk fell, true darkness descended. Cities vanished into black holes, punctuated only by candles and flashlights. The familiar urban landscape was gone, replaced by something menacing. In the north, cold became a new threat. Homes lost heat. Families huddled for warmth. For the vulnerable, it was deadly. The darkness fueled crime. Looting and home invasions surged. People barricaded doors, listening in fear. Police were overwhelmed, their communications crippled. The night belonged to those willing to exploit chaos. Emergency radio broadcasts urged calm, but offered little hope. For most, The night was a long, terrifying vigil. The blackout was now a fight for survival. The primal fear of the dark returned, the world felt smaller, more dangerous. The sun's return was uncertain. Dawn brought relief and a grim reality. Streets were littered with abandoned cars and trash, the air reeked of spoiled food. The human cost was clear deaths in hospitals, the elderly lost to cold, victims of crime and accidents. The economic damage was staggering, but the psychological toll was worse. People emerged, haunted and weary, their trust in the system shattered. The illusion of security was gone. Survival had become personal. A strange quiet settled exhaustion, fear, and a new appreciation for the basics. Survivors waited, conserving what little they had. The world hadn't ended, but the world they knew was gone. And then, a flicker. A street lamp blinked on, a refrigerator hummed, power returned in a slow wave. Relief swept the nation, but the scars remained. Empty shelves, lost lives, shattered trust. The blackout exposed how deeply electricity underpins everything: communication, finance, food, water, health. The nation demanded answers and reforms. Calls for a stronger, safer grid grew louder. The day of darkness became a defining moment, a brutal reminder of our dependence on a fragile system. People asked, if the lights went out tomorrow, would you be ready? For 24 hours, America learned how close to the edge we truly are. The lesson was clear: resilience and preparedness matter. The hum of civilization had returned, but the memory of darkness would not fade. The world had changed. The question lingered. Next time, would we survive? The blackout was over, but its lesson had just begun.